Hello, Internet. It's Friday morning and time to talk some real estate. Really excited about this. Let me get all set up with these banners. Let me go ahead and put my email address out there, get a disclaimer going, and also say, hey, post some questions in the chat if you have anything. Let's see. I have officially broken out a light jacket. It's starting to get really chilly in the mornings here in Ohio. So this is also going to be a shorter live stream today. My wife and I are going up to Canton to a Dwight Yoakam concert. Pretty excited about that. So that's happening later today. And as far as real estate goes, let me catch you up on the week real quick. We've extended an offer for our leasing, the guy that does all of our leasing, to come on full time. Really excited about that, working through the details there. So that's a big win for us. We have closed on, I think, about 10 properties as well. We are at 151 properties now, and we still have about 30 to 31 properties under contract. So there's about 5 that we're actively looking for funding for. So I've been spending a good portion of the week reaching out to people, seeing who's interested in providing some first position mortgages. And let's see, currently negotiating a package of 5 properties, and I think that's going to be reasonably priced, and there's a decent amount of work to be done there, but that's okay. That's where some of the discount comes in. In addition to that, let's see, we're closing on one property today, and this is one of the properties. It's a higher valued property. The appraised value came in at $145,000. We have it under contract for $63,000. And it'll likely need about $20,000 to $30,000 worth of work. So new kitchen, new bathroom, new flooring throughout. But the exterior, I mean, there's new siding, a new roof, new gutters. So the exterior is good. It's on a double lot in one of those places that has a decent school district. So that's pretty exciting. It's been a while. It has. Everything's going really well. We have no real complaints. We also bought an office building, so we are rehabbing that as well. That is here in Dayton. So since we have a growing team now, this office is only big enough for me. So if anyone else were to try to work out of here, it would quickly become entirely too small, very quickly. So excited about that. It's really a house that we're just going to utilize as an office. It's in one of the mixed use parts of town. So, it could be a house, could be an office. That's okay. And that's about 3,000 square foot. So I think the way it's set up right now, there's 4 bedrooms upstairs, or 4 office rooms upstairs, and 3 downstairs. So it's got a total of about 7 spaces for people to do work. It also has a walk-up attic and a full basement. And the basement is actually pretty tall. It's got about 9-foot ceilings, which is, it's really tough. Some basement ceilings are like 6 foot. Others are 9-10 foot. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is. Maybe just personal preference, the builder's preference, the person's preference. Who knows? All right. And also the Ingram rental calculator. Check that out. That is now available both on the Google Play Store and also the Apple Store. So go ahead, download that. It's pretty cool. I recorded a pretty short video just about how to use it if you need any instructions, but I like to think that it's pretty intuitive. Best video on YouTube. Thanks, Earl Johnson. I sure do appreciate it. 4 people on. Any questions you guys might have, feel free. If you aren't familiar with PropStream, by all means, check it out. Let me know what you think. This is a link to a 7-day free trial. And I use it very regularly. I've started actually with a lot of the people that like to invest in first position mortgages with us. I've started utilizing PropStream, their comp report feature. And a lot of times, especially when we get a good deal, I really like to showcase all of the comps just so, to add another layer of assurance that I'm not not making this up. So I've been including comp reports for the properties that we've been looking for funding on, just to show that, hey, we are getting a good deal. It needs a little bit of work, and here's what it'll be worth afterwards. And here are the comps to prove it. So it's really, really easy to use and tons of fun. All right. Well, might be a light day. Might be a light day. All right. Well, and just attempting to figure out what to talk about, I just checked my email, and the closing on the property today that I was just referring to, the one that needs about $30,000 worth of work that we're buying for 63, will not be closed today. It will be closing on Monday. So that's exciting. I would like to know the difference between your method of real estate investment and the BRRRR. Well, I know I mentioned this a lot, my dislike for the BRRRR strategy, and it really just comes down to semantics. I just think that Bigger Pockets did a great thing from a marketing perspective. I would make the argument that the quote unquote BRRRR strategy is just like, buy and hold real estate investing. Like, that's all it is. There's nothing fancy about it. There's no reason to call it anything different than real estate investing. So with the BRRRR, what is it? Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So I think that's everything. So buying a property, the B in buying a property, that's if you want to have investment properties, you have to do that, right? So that's just like a given. The B is a given. Like, every investor does that buys rental properties, right? So rehab a property, that's the first R, is rehab. If you have any property for any length of time, then you at some point are going to rehab it. So that's also a given. Renting a property, well, that's one of the ways that you make money. Like, that is the cash flow of the business. So if you have a rental property, you should rent it out for sure. Refinance at any given point, it probably makes sense because, between the principal pay down and the appreciation over any length of time, then you are going to be in a position where you could pull out a lot of capital because you have equity and have experienced appreciation. So if you are a real estate investor for any length of time, then you will refinance that property. And then repeat is the last R. So you have the option to do it again. And anyone that is interested in building a rental portfolio will buy more than one property. So I guess as far as this BRRRR strategy goes, now that we have kind of laid it out one by one, I would say that it is the same as real estate investing. And if you engage in real estate investing for any point of time, then this quote unquote strategy encompasses almost all of the things that you can do when you're engaging in real estate investing. The only thing that I think didn't make it is sell. So if you added the S to the end of BRRRR, so BRRRR's strategy, well, now we've completely encompassed everything you could do inside the world of real estate investing. So I think the only thing that kind of makes it a strategy is trying to do this on some sort of timeline. So maybe the selling point of people that like this method say that, yeah, but you have to do it quickly. So maybe a 6-month time frame. Well, the time frame on how quickly you can do this really isn't up to you. You've got a lot of vendors that are going to stand in your way as you're getting this. So you've got the contractors. So first off, when you're buying, depending on the deal, I mean, we have had some properties take as long as 4 months to close, right? We have had some people that want to live in the property after we buy it for quite some time, so they rent it back from us. So The buying, there's a lot of variables that aren't dependent on the real estate investor. The rehabbing part, we all know that contractors take a lot longer than expected. So there's that. Um, so you can't necessarily hold yourself to a solid timeline there. And then the renting part, you could do that one pretty quickly. I mean, sure, some properties might be a little bit harder to rent out, but there's no reason to rush this, right? The refinance part, this is where I think the Burr strategy, quote unquote, really misleads a lot of people, because I don't know if, at least when I looked into this several years ago, when I formed this opinion that I'm telling you now. So maybe everything that I'm saying is outdated and addressed by Bigger Pockets at this point, because enough people have complained by now. But the refinance part, a lot of banks want seasoning, especially if it's your first or second property. They want to see that you have had this property anywhere from 6 to 18 months. Some banks, if you look hard enough, they don't have any seasoning, but they're likely going to be more expensive. And maybe if this is your first deal, if the margins are tight, maybe working with a more expensive bank is going to make you not profitable. I don't know. I'm just saying that the refinance piece of this is also outside of your control. So if you're not imposing a really quick timeline, then what is the strategy actually encouraging you to do that's different than just real estate investing as a whole? That's the question that I can't figure out. That is the reason that I dislike even calling it a strategy, because it's no different than just real estate investing. I suppose you could make the point that, well, the Burr strategy is encouraging you to pull out all the money that you put in and go out and then just do it again and just keep reusing that same amount of money. Well, that's not the Burr strategy. Way before, Bigger Pockets coined this term, people were doing this. I mean, I would say, unless you are buying properties in cash, if you are, sensitive to debt, if you're not interested in taking out like the full 75% loan to value, then you might have a lot of your money in your own deals. But if you look at people that have, larger portfolios, the chances of them having their own money inside of these rentals is very slim. So before that, I mean, low money, no money down real estate investing, that's what people called it. But, those are all my thoughts. It's just confusing. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's kind of misleading. But the one thing it is for sure is great marketing, because everybody knows it and everybody thinks they're doing something different when they say they want to do the Burr strategy, other than just investing in real estate. So great marketing, but useless in function. Prop stream. Yes, prop stream. Let me see. Where's that link? 7-day free trial. You can run your own comps, analyze your own deals, find off-market properties via skip tracing, send out letters, do some direct mail marketing. It's all there. All from the mobile app even. You can do it. So find all your deals. Raul Rodriguez. Good morning, man. Are you still planning to transition into single short-term rentals, Airbnb? I actually had a conversation about this last night. We have a few properties in some pretty sweet areas of town at this point that would make great Airbnbs. I'm really interested in it. It is on my radar. I want to have one or two of these. I am currently speaking to my next door neighbor, and I think it would be awesome to buy her house. She is interested in moving at some point, and I would love to Airbnb that, because I would be able to incorporate my entire family in the process. I would be able to give my kids, even though they're young, my oldest is 4, my oldest daughter is 3. Actually, it's October now. So my youngest daughter, she's 1 at the moment, but she's about to turn 2. And then, hey, the newborn is exactly that, right? Like, I think he's like 9 or 10 months at this point. So he won't be able to do much at the moment, but I think it would be really cool to have something close to our house, give them responsibilities, and just, allow them to help. They love helping, and they all love working. So I've been trying to figure out ways to foster that inside of the business that ultimately is going to pay for pretty much all of their college and all of their expenses, really. So just teaching them young, instilling in them a good work ethic. I think Airbnb is a good way to do that. So looking into it, it's on my radar. I'm actively thinking about it, but I got to admit, it's also kind of in the background. With us bringing on, I guess, 3 full-time employees now, our bandwidth has dramatically increased. So right now I am doing what I like to call racing to 200. So the race to 200 has begun. We're currently at 151. We've got 30 properties under contract still. Let me check and make sure that's right. 30 properties under contract, with the potential of that going to 35 by later today. So we're moving, we're cooking along, and right now I just want to make sure that we are continuing to do the same exact thing that we've been doing, rather than bringing on something new, maybe a little bit more complicated, that we don't really have the systems built out for yet. So yeah, right now, our goal is to get to 200. It might happen by the end of the year, it might not. And then we've officially doubled in size. So we started this year with 80, and we'll hit that. And next year we would like to double as well. So that would probably involve us buying 150 to 200 doors next year, which would be a fantastic pace to keep up. That would be pretty extraordinary. So right now I'm trying to focus on problem solving a lot for that. And that includes finding additional capital to work with, finding cheaper capital to work with. One of the ideas that I'm playing with at the moment is, how do I raise, several $1 million at 6% rather than like the 10 and 12% that we've been using with the friends and family, secured by first position mortgages. So if we can get, 6% money from private investors, and again, that's a completely different client profile, actively working on trying to solve this problem at the moment, because some of the properties we have like a mix. Sometimes we try to balance how many properties are we buying that are rent ready, how many properties are we buying that are already occupied, how many properties need like a light rehab, maybe in and out of there in like 2 or 3 days, and then how many properties like are full rehab projects. And we try to balance those out very well so as not to overload or accidentally buy like 30 properties that need full rehabs. Like that would set us back probably like a year, just because of bandwidth, because as we're working on these, we also have just the normal turns and the normal vacancies when people are moving out. So if we can take that 6% money and go straight into kind of long-term financing with the ones that we buy that are either already occupied, already rent ready, or need like very minimal work, and then start using the 10, 12% first position mortgages from like just for those heavy rehabs, then that would allow us to scale a lot faster than what we currently are. So that's our next plan of attack that I have been spending a lot of my free time and my brain space trying to process how to accomplish that. Wow, that was a long question. I looked down and reread the question, or a long answer for a short question. Sorry about that ramble. But hey, now you guys know the biggest problem that I'm trying to solve at the moment. When doing comps and PropStream, do you include property sales that appear to be an auction sale? Not really. So a lot of times when I'm doing comps, because those auction sales generally are the ones that are driving down the value of your home. And since it's an auction sale, somebody took on an exorbitant amount of risk and trying to get good value out of that. So I do not include those. You want to filter out the properties that were clearly sold to investors, because the after repair value, that's ambiguous, right? You're not saying the after repair value for a rental property, right? There's not 2 different prices for a home, whether an investor buys it or whether a retail buyer purchases it. So you want your ARV to be if you were to sell it to a retail investor. Now, because that's the way that we value our properties, is if we took this one property and sold it to like a retail person, then we have, just saying that out loud, could probably already infer that we have no interest in ever selling off our portfolio as like a package deal, because when you sell properties as a package, you are pretty much setting yourself up to take lesser than market value. So all of those things, you want to weed those out. And I like including the properties that are clearly staged. Now, if you look past the furniture or the books and the flowers that these realtors or the staging companies will put up, then make sure that it's still similar. Like whatever condition you have in mind for your property, make sure it's similar to the properties that you're using. So if you know that you're going to put granite countertops in your properties, if you know you're going to put, ceramic tile in the kitchen and bath, LVP throughout, or keep the hardwoods, you just want to get it as close as possible between square footage and also like how it looks when it's finished. So imagine your property staged, and that's what you want to compare it to. You do not want to compare your distressed property to other distressed properties. You don't want to compare your property that you're going to fix up nice to something that somebody has been abusing as a rental for several years. So this is where it's more of an art on the single family investing side than it is like, the multifamily guys, the big syndicates, it's investor to investor, right? Whereas you've got a little bit more latitude on the single family home side, where you're going from, perhaps like a probate settlement. If you're going for like a divorce, if you're going to somebody that just got a job and just needs to get rid of their house quick. I mean, there's a million different reasons that somebody would want to sell a home very quickly to you, the investor, at a discount, because speed is more important to them than the highest price. Good morning. I'm curious if there's a standard percentage drop in a price between an all-cash offer and traditional bank financing. If the seller's asking $125,000 for sell by owner, what's a reasonable all-cash offer? Speaking of art inside of single-family investing, I think this is as well. There are a lot of people that are a lot better at negotiating than I am. And ultimately, I think a fair offer is one that's mutually accepted by the seller and the buyer, right? So not to give you too vague of an answer, but I would say our strategy generally is to come in $20,000, $30,000 off the asking price and settle somewhere between. So just recently, a house was listed for $65,000. We offered $40,000. It was accepted even without a counter. Last year, I know a property was listed for $155,000. We offered $100,000 and we settled at $122,000. So it really depends on, you want to go in as low as you think is fair. You definitely want to have like a rationale behind what you're offering. So if you run your numbers and you say that, based on the condition of the property, these repairs that I'll have to make, and then, you want to stay under 75% the after repair value so that you don't have any of your own money in the deal. So, if you think this property is worth like 140, then you'll take 75% of 140 and then subtract all of the things that you think the property needs to be brought up to your standard. And then that's probably a good spot that you have to offer. And you've got that 25% equity as a buffer. So you can go up a little bit. You can start negotiating from there and see what happens. The guy that, does all of our leasing, he is, from my perspective, he is a master negotiator. And he recently, for us, negotiated a property from $45,000 down to $30,000. I thought that was really impressive. And for a house that he bought for himself, he negotiated it down from $30,000 to $8,000. So, again, both parties walk away happy. Otherwise, they likely wouldn't agree to it, right? So it really comes down to how hard you want to negotiate and what a win-win is. And there are, several times where it might be silly, but we have walked away from a couple deals just because we were about $5,000 off. But that $5,000 would mean that we would, you know, it's on one hand, it seems silly to walk away from a deal for 5,000, but at the same time, we were very confident in our numbers, and we knew that we'd be compromising what we'd be able to do with that home if we spent that 5,000. So there's that. Appraisal came back favorably for 4-unit. However, there's encroachment issues, which the seller, who's also the real estate agent, they want to cancel. Seems I'll miss out on the inspection and appraisal. Really? So they canceled your contract? And the great cash flow it already brings in. Any advice? Feels like the agent is playing both sides. That's messed up that he canceled the contract for the encroachment issues. Encroachment issues can be reconciled. Well, all issues inside of real estate can be reconciled. It's just a matter of time and money, really. So I don't know. I wouldn't be intimidated by the encroachment issues. There was a guy that also used to be in the Seek Wisdom Mastermind that he handled some encroachment issues. I can connect you to. Because I've never come up with any encroachment issues. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Any thoughts on investing in boarding houses or renting out by the room? I wouldn't do it. I'm a big fan of, not inviting headaches into my life, and renting things out by the room really amplifies the amounts of headaches there. Like we have a tough enough time with our 4 units, and the people always getting in arguments with each other and calling us to tell us about some sort of way they were inconvenienced by someone else that lives there. So I wouldn't want to amplify that by knocking down some walls, making people share a kitchen, and all of that. But these are this is my personal baggage. This is my personal way of living. I know, I'm sure. And again, one of the things I love saying on this channel is in every situation, in every market, and in every point in time, there's a real estate investor out there making money. So for here, I'm positive there are real estate investors out there just making an absolute killing on boarding houses. And I'm sure they have it down to a science. It's what they love doing. But at a certain point, investing becomes all about what types of problems do you want to deal with. And everything that comes along with boarding homes or renting out homes by the rooms are problems that I do not want to deal with. I would get very frustrated very quickly if I had to deal with any issues that might come along with that. So we lease to a couple companies that do like sober living, but they manage it. So they determine who lives there. They handle all of that. They even have their own maintenance person. We just handle the things that are clearly our issue, right? So, if I bought a property that was like perfect for boarding houses, it was already set up that way, I wouldn't run it. I would rent it to somebody that wanted to run that. And then you would also have to consider your insurance implications for that, right? So boarding homes, sober living homes, they all have to be insured in a different manner. You can't just write them on a normal dwelling fire policy. What percentage of your portfolio is multifamily? Well, we've got, it's a good question, Lewis Porter Jr., and I want to answer that appropriately. Let's see. Well, I'm not going to count the duplexes because I don't know offhand how many we have. I know we have 2 4 units and 2 3 units at the moment. So that's what, 8 plus 6, 14 units. So like 10% maybe. A little bit shy of 10%, maybe 8%, maybe 8.6%, maybe 6.7%. Yeah. Do you have a written guide that can help anyone who loves your strategies, or are there opportunities with your company? A guide or opportunities in the company. Um, well, I mean, I don't have anything written out. I like to think that the YouTube channel and all my deals explained videos kind of lays out the strategy using like real examples. Um, but yeah, I don't have anything written out. And opportunities in the company, I really don't know. I mean, probably there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve. I don't know. I mean, some business coaches would cringe when they hear this, but I mean, we are really looking for, you know, go-getter people that are problem solvers themselves. Uh, so we often and regularly ask people to be on the lookout for any sort of inefficiencies, anything that they think needs to be changed, can be improved, and we really encourage our people to point those out. So, um, candidly, I don't think there's any reason we wouldn't hire more people. I just think that we would need help in because I like to think that we are running, right? So, we've got 30 properties under contract. We have a tendency probably to be more reactive on the operational side than proactive. And I think once our, full-time people get really situated, really take over, positive control over everything inside of our company, all the management stuff, then we'll have the ability, the bandwidth, the brain power collectively to be proactive about a lot of our issues. But yeah, I am always down to hear areas that we can improve in and act on those, especially if somebody's willing to help us improve on those. So I like to think that our company is like the best, you know. We're just really trying to embody the pure spirit of capitalism, right? So we know that we can be improved on. We know that people have skills that we don't, that can improve them better than we can, and we're interested in working with those people. Good morning. Been too busy, I guess. Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I have this live stream as a hard fixed thing on my weekly calendar. So I do my best to never cancel it, maybe shorten it, but never cancel it. And yeah, I've got that's the thing, man, is everybody's got the same 24 hours in a day, and we can all of us can find tons of reasons as to why not to do something. And I think everybody can probably use being too busy. Even the unemployed people now can be too busy to go out and find jobs, right? So we're all too busy. It's just a matter of appropriately prioritizing, figure out what's most important to us, and doing it regardless. So this live stream, for example, is something that I could easily put off every week, but it is extraordinarily important to me and a very high priority. And I would love to, several years down the road, be able to look back and say, I have done this live stream every Friday morning for multiple years with minimal cancellations. So I think the last couple of times I've canceled, it's been because of some family issues, people being sick and whatnot, because we have a lot of kids. We have way too many kids, and we're going to have even more kids. Really excited. I've got something that's going to come later towards the end of this month. That I'm gonna document very well on YouTube. It's gonna be really exciting. Really looking forward to announcing that. Nestor, what's the minimum amount required investors to invest with you? So because we are on first position mortgages, it is all based on the property. So we don't pool any investors' money. It's always one investor per property. So the minimum is, I mean, we don't really have a minimum, but like the properties kind of set that. So, I know like right now, one of the properties that we're looking for funding for is like 40,000, and it goes as high up as 67,000. So I guess in a minimum sense, 40,000 at the moment would be. But as soon as we find an investor for that one, then I think the next one is 50,000. So there's that. And yeah, with the people that invest with us, the first position mortgages, it looks no different than if a bank were to do it. So there's a promissory note, a mortgage is prepared, they're recorded at the county, recorder's office. So if you were to look up the records of our properties, you would see our lenders, but it's all secured via first position mortgages. So is your brother still doing deals in Jacksonville? Yes, he is. Deals meaning, being a loan officer and doing the financing for people. He is not actively buying rental properties down there, but he is actively networking with people buying rental properties or people just buying properties, and realtors and bankers, all those people. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a good question. I really don't talk about the investing side of things much on here, other than the fact that I do it. But yeah, maybe that would be. Man, I had fantastic intentions of recording a couple of videos this week, and I have said multiple times in the past that I was going to start recording videos again and releasing them. But each time I sit down to do it, man, I can't bring myself to actually doing it, except for these live streams. They're interactive and fun. I get a lot of enjoyment out of this. Preparing some sort of like canned presentation is not that invigorating for me. But I think creating some sort of video about the actual promissory notes, the mortgages, and how exactly that's handled isn't a bad idea. So, yeah. I still have your contact information, I think. Let me see. And I think I just have. Oh, it's coming to you, Lewis Porter Jr. There you go. There you go. All right. Let's see. Any questions in the chat? Got my disclaimer rolling. Seek-wisdom.com/join. That's the mastermind. I've got that one. Being a ticker down there. There's a couple openings there. And if this is of any interest to you. So the whole reason that I started this was because, I sat down and I said, okay, what do I really want to accomplish? In the beginning of this year, I was like, what do I want to accomplish over the next 3 years? And one thing that came up is I really wanted to help 10 people buy 10 properties. And I tried to figure out a way to do that. And I started this mastermind group, which that was the intentions of it. However, as it's kind of evolved, since it's made of people, it's like this living and ever-changing thing. There's some guys in there that have bought already way more than 10 properties. One guy just closed on a package of 70 properties, and kind of as a group, all the people that are anywhere near Ohio are going to do a little tour around those, because that's really I mean, he bought a package of 70 properties, and I think like 30 of them are vacant, maybe some really high number. So he's got a lot of work that he's doing there. But it's just a bunch of guys trying to hold each other accountable, encouraging them to be better, helping them solve the problems that they have. We've got a lender in there, a couple of lenders actually that are in there. Some people that have no interest in real estate investing, just want to be, a better person. I guess they turned into lenders on the real estate investing side of things. But yeah, it's a good time. There's a video on YouTube, and I would highly encourage anybody interested to watch that and then fill out the application that's on the website that's rolling on this ticker down below. I'm trying to find, I know I wrote, when he was talking, I know I wrote down how many of them were vacant, but it was a very intimidating number of properties that were vacant. But I think it was 30. But they were also all built in 2004, so it was a pretty sweet deal. All right. Well, what you got? Any questions? Go ahead, post them in the chat. Be more than happy to answer them. Hey, I write a lot of stuff down, but it's in no manner that's even moderately organized. I'll start writing some more stuff down. All right. So any questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead and post those in the chat. Happy to answer them. And try to work through some stuff. I think the entire not art, but the entire intention behind this live stream is just setting aside a certain number of time every week that people that are actually interested in building a real estate portfolio want to, learn the ropes, have any sort of issues that they might have. It's kind of like an open office. My heart is for helping people. I have been helped tremendously over the past 4 years as Will and I have been building this real estate portfolio, and, finding a mentor. I'm not saying I'm your mentor. I think it's best to have someone in a local market. But at the end of the day, I always, as I was learning all of this, and several people, I had open line access to anytime I had any questions, and they welcomed it. But at the same time, I really wish that I had a few people before I met those mentors that just set aside time to answer people's questions. So that's all this is. Nothing fancy. Just answering some questions. Best way to find the true rental value. True rental value. Man, that's really the market. So if you are on Zillow, because Zillow has this whole rent manager, and they are getting heavier and heavier on the rental side of things. Zillow has an interactive map that I used to use a lot on when I was first getting familiar with areas. And I know you've probably seen the map and the actual home values, but if you go up to the Zillow's options and click for rent instead of for sale, then that same map gives you the estimated rental amount of all of the properties in the neighborhood. And I found at the time when I was using that regularly, those were pretty consistent. And now, probably once a week, generally when I'm struggling with some insomnia, I'll just scroll through the areas that we have properties in, and I'll see what's currently out there for rent and see what other people are charging, and try to model that after, similar to that last about the comps. Just figuring out is my property better than this? Do I have better finishes? Is it more presentable? Is it more updated? Kind of those things. And if yours is better, then you should probably charge a little bit more. And also, how we do it is we start high. So we try to set the market for the rental rates each time we put a new property on the market. So let's say a property, we see others renting out for like $850, and we know that ours is just significantly nicer, then we will try for, let's say, $950, and we're going to hope that we get it, but we're going to leave it on there for a week, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And if we don't get many inquiries, then we'll drop it. We'll go maybe $925 for a week or two. And if we don't get many inquiries or any qualified applicants, then we might drop it to $900, and we'll slowly just go down until it finally gets rented out. And, that's the cool thing about the free market is, it's the people will tell you what it's worth. And that's pretty cool. So we try to start high, slowly work our way down. Best app or tool to calculate comps. I use PropStream. I use PropStream for running all of the comps. And I'm not saying that just because I want you to click this link for a 7-day free trial. I really do it. It spits out a pretty cool comp report that shows you like the low price, the average price, and the high price. It also allows you to kind of pick your own comps. So you can put in your own parameters. You can put in, how many months it goes back for sales, what kind of radius you want the properties to be in, and you can pick out the ones that are most similar to your property. So from talking to the appraisers that I've used, square footage is one of the number one things. So you want to look at square footage first, and then bedroom, bath count second, and then after you get similar there, then it comes down to finishes. So PropStream gives you positive control over all of those things and makes it really easy to run your own comps. Now, the best calculator for investments, figuring out if you should buy it, is the Ingram rental calculator app. It's free for everyone. I don't collect any information. Once you download it, you will, no information is collected. There's no tracing that happens. There's no targeting that happens. There's no storing of any information. Just an app. There's no sign in. There's no cloud. Not invasive at all. And I take a lot of pride in that. So if you enjoy the app, by all means, feel free to give it a little 5-star review on the App Store. And if you don't worry about it. Or I guess you could also rate it negatively. But I'm also happy to fix things. It's a pretty cool app. I found myself regularly using 2 different apps on the rentals, the actual loan calculator, and then like the rental calculator, where you can put in all the expenses to make sure that your cash on cash return is fine and all that. So I just had the idea one day that's like, hey, I really wish that these 2 apps were one, so I didn't have to keep going back and forth. So we just made it, which is pretty fun. It is now. Please double check. Because after you were on here the other day, I emailed the software developer, and it was in the progress. I don't know if it was overlooked, it was in progress or what, but over the weekend, it went live. So that whatever weekend it was that we had that conversation last. As the value goes up, either rents need to go up or need to think of selling. Example, have a single family valued around $167K, getting $1,150 per month. What to do? As the values go up, either rents need to go up or need to think of selling. Well, if you have it on a fixed rate mortgage, why does the rent matter? Like if you locked it in a good deal and it's cash flowing, I mean, rents should always go up for sure. Even so, we do our very best to raise everyone's rent all the time, even if it's just like $15 a month after the lease expires, if we're already like at or close to market. We just want to get into the rhythm just internally from a systems perspective to always make sure that we are touching every expired lease and raising the rent. So yes, your rent should go up, but the play there is if you have a decent amount of equity that you want to tap into, you could sell it, or you could just refinance it and pull out the equity. You would want to make sure that when you refinance it and pull out the equity, that you're not pulling out so much that now your property isn't cash flowing. That wouldn't be good. But if you're already cash flowing and you want to tap into some of the equity, by all means, do it. And if you look 30, 40 years down the road, it makes more sense to hold on to the property and utilize the equity whenever you need to, rather than selling the property. It's my opinion. It's my 2 cents, but I'm sure there are people with bigger brains, more inclined to exponential returns or whatever, that have a better idea than I do. But my tendency, I have a very high propensity to want to hold on to everything that we own, because from a long-term perspective, it just makes most sense. Finally caught the live today. Great to see it live instead of the replay. Great value nonetheless. Thanks, Dominic. I really appreciate it. It's been a while since you've been back. Can you use two different hard money lenders to buy a deal? For example, one can cover the 80% of the house buying and the other can cover the 20%. There are no rules when it comes to this type of thing. So really, it would become whoever you can get the two hard money lenders to agree to. Some of the hard money lenders wouldn't take kindly to you putting a second on the property, and most hard money lenders would not take too kindly to you asking them to be a second, because the probability of someone getting their money back, especially on a distressed property from a second position mortgage, is pretty slim. First position is pretty safe because they're in first place. If they default, they get the property. Second position would have to negotiate something with the first position. Honestly, I don't really know how second position mortgages work. I just know it's not the same. It's not like they are secured like with the property. They are, but the chances of them actually being able to get the property in the event of a default, the first position one would just have to get settled beforehand. So if you can get someone to agree to that, I don't see why not, so long as you are not over the 75% loan to value. So if you're not over leveraged and the numbers work and you can find somebody that's interested in doing it, there's no real harm in it. We've got a couple second position mortgages, but that's because they have really small first position mortgages. One of the first properties I bought, I did a video on it. I think the video is called like When Real Estate Clicked for Me. And that was the first property that I got a loan on. I bought the property for $28,000, and the mortgage, I put $7,000 down, and then the mortgage was $21,000. So one of the local banks was willing to do it. The mortgage payment was like $112.73 per month, not to be too specific. Yeah, so the balance on there is really low compared to what the property's worth now. So we've got a couple seconds on that one. So I don't see anything wrong with it if you can get people to convince it. I could get faster ROI rolling that money in distressed businesses. Oh, that's right. You have the laundromat. I see. Yeah, you're in a different game, different ballpark. Yeah, if real estate's not your main digs, I still stick to my guns in that over the long term, if you could just access a little bit of the equity and use that for the businesses, keep the underlying asset, and then also invest in your distressed businesses, then that is, I would say that's the best case scenario. Just because the continued appreciation, the continued rent increases, principal pay down, tax benefits, everything that goes into the benefits of real estate investing. But at the same time, if you have another stick, like your main business has a higher ROI, then it might not be a bad idea to inject some additional capital into that business, generate a lot more capital, and then circle back and reinvest that capital into real estate. I definitely think, though, that regardless of how successful and what the ROI is on your primary business, you should always have some sort of real estate holdings. And I say that because, yes, real estate by no means is like passive income. It takes a lot of work to run a portfolio. It takes a lot of work to make sure that everything goes smoothly, that your contractors are timely, that your property managers don't do anything crazy. It takes a lot. But at the same time, you're also getting that residual month over month income. And real estate requires your hand to be on the wheel a lot less than a lot of these businesses with a higher ROI. So unless, of course, you build a business to be as automated and as systematized as people eventually build their real estate portfolios to be. So there's a lot of different options, but I think long-term real estate is the way to go. But my mind's been changed before. Thank you. I was actually, there's a group of guys that meets Friday morning before this live stream. And I was telling them today, somebody asked like how I got into real estate investing to begin with. And before real estate investing, so when I was in law enforcement, I met a guy on a call. Somebody tried to break into one of his cars, and I met him, and he was a commercial real estate investor in the area that I worked in. And he was nice enough to take me around to his properties. We became friends, and he was kind enough to take me around to his properties and tell me how much he paid for the properties, what he had to put into them, what they rent out for. And I was kind of frustrated because before that I was a cop, but I had done tons of research on like financial instruments. Really loved the stock market, and I had this massive plan to save up over my 30-year career, like $500 or $600 grand, put it in dividend stocks, and live off the residual income because that's how much I needed to spit off like 44 grand a year, which is what I was currently making and able to get by on happily. So that was my plan. And then after hanging out with that guy and him telling me all this stuff, I was just like, man, if what this guy is saying is true, then it puts the returns on these dividend stocks I'm doing to shame. And that can't be right because I've done my research and this is the best thing. This is the best idea for me out there. And I started looking into real estate very heavily, simply to disprove and figure out why real estate is the inferior investment compared to dividend investing. So here we are now, 150 doors later. Laundromats are a real estate investment for me and not main business. I'm torn. I see. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess I have a main business, but I think real estate is easier to kind of stand the test of time. I mean, you've got some. Like I was recently talking to somebody, I don't remember who, but he has a duplex that was built in like 1850, which is older than the oldest duplex that we have, which was like, you know, right at the turn, like 1880, 1890, somewhere in there. So, I mean, that thing has been a cash flow, income producing thing for so long, and it's still standing. Whereas a lot of the businesses started that long ago. Kind of not anymore. So if you're from like a generational aspect, I think real estate is the way to go. If you are only concerned with kind of living a good life, getting the most out of what you currently have on hand, the time, energy, effort you have right now, perhaps real estate might not be the greatest of returns. But I know I watched some video or some interview with Jeff Bezos, and the only reason that he even created a website is he was working on Wall Street at the time, and he saw that, I can't remember exactly, but he saw that like the software tech internet stuff was up like 3,000, 36,000% on the year, somewhere like that. And he thought to himself, that's something that I need to get into. So there are ways to make a lot more money faster than real estate, for sure. But I think for the long haul, like I think it would be silly if just Jeff Bezos didn't have like a real estate investing branch somewhere, which I'm positive he does, right? But yeah, generationally speaking, real estate I think is probably the winner. All right. Questions in the chat. Let me put my disclaimer back up. I had something weird happen to me yesterday that I'll tell you about. I had a wholesaler. I've done a lot of deals with this wholesaler previously. He called me and told me he had a house in Oakwood, which is Oakwood is like, the poshest place around. I think it goes for about 200 per square foot. And a lot of the buildings in Dayton might go for $30 to $70 per square foot. And he asked me if I was interested in the deal in Oakwood. And I said, sure. Like, if the numbers work, I'd consider Oakwood. And I asked him the price and to send me the address. The price was $280,000. Sent me the address. I looked it up. And the property was currently listed on the MLS. It had currently been rehabbed. And the price on the MLS was like $260,000. Never before have I gotten a call from a wholesaler and him giving me a price higher than what was on the MLS. So that was an interesting experience. It made me scratch my head a little bit. All right. Any questions you might have in the chat, go ahead and post them. I'm happy to answer them. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate you being on here. I know I've mentioned this earlier already, but I am going to be in Canton tonight and tomorrow. So my wife and I are going to a Dwight Yoakam concert. So I am really excited. I'm going to do a very small amount of work today, and I'm going to go have boatloads of fun. So if you are at anywhere near Canton, go ahead and send me an email. Or come find me at the Dwight Yoakam concert. That would be funny. Dwight Yoakam. Really exciting. All right. Well, if nothing else, I can stick around for a few more minutes to see if anybody comes up with these last minute questions. Otherwise, I'm going to go get this fun time started. Are you finding it difficult to find deals in this market? No, I'm not. One of the things that I regularly say, and I often remind myself, is that in all markets, in every single time period ever throughout the history of America, there has been a real estate investor actively making big profits in real estate investing. So we have had no issue finding deals. However, I hear often, even from people in my market, that the deals are hard to find. So there's a disconnect somewhere. Maybe it's a mindset thing. Maybe there's a little bit of truth to it. But if you pivot, if you get creative, if you explore different avenues, if you double down on things, if you work harder than the other people in the market, you'll find all the deals you need probably. I was actually having the conversation with the guys this morning because I have said several times now to our team that I'm going to slow down on buying properties. But the last time I kind of shut off the deal flow, it took me about 2 months to get it going again. Whenever I started looking for properties, but like right now, we're just having so many deals come our way that I don't want to shut it down. So now I'm kind of trying to scramble to fix the capital side of the issue because at this point, we've ran out of our kind of first position investor money, but the deals keep coming in. So now I'm trying to find more. Now I'm trying to correct this capital issue so that I can continue taking down these deals. Pretty exciting. Do you have courses here on your channel with step-by-step guide for beginners? If not, can you make one? I think I do. I know I've got a lot of videos, but I want to say I do. Whatever interests you on the videos, just scroll through the videos. Watch. I know I did like a series of videos that were like, it was like black thumbnail with like yellow words. I know that was kind of like a series. And then I know I did like the Millionaire by 30 series. Just have a look around. And if there's something missing that you want to know, if you wouldn't mind just shooting me an email with those things that's missing. And I'll do my best to do that. I do think it would be beneficial. It is on my mind to create a course. I think that would be really beneficial. And of course, it would be free, right? So I have no interest in charging anyone anything for the information. I think paying to be around the right people makes tons of sense. I think that's how you really actually like level up your network, make sure that you're doing all the right things. I think if you were to have all the information in the world at your fingertips, but not be surrounded by the right people, then it's going to be much harder for you to be successful. So that's why I think like the mastermind is a really important piece, being around like-minded people. What percentage of your deals come from PropStream? That's a good question. I would say that we have like 7 or 8 different methods of finding deals. I don't know. I know at the moment, I think last time I went over all of our deals live, I would say the majority of them came through the MLS, and we just, the MLS ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's super competitive on there. Other times we make really low ball offers and they get accepted. So we just went through a little spurt where we made a lot of really low ball offers and they were accepted. And then we just got into a bidding war on another property where there's like 12 other offers. So I would say though that I definitely use PropStream to analyze all of the deals, but the ones that actually come from PropStream and doing like the skip tracing and whatnot are pretty slim. I've found a couple people's information and contacted them via PropStream, but it's just not something that we necessarily like have the systems in place for, and it's not something that I allocate much time to. I think I grossly underutilize all of the resources that are available at PropStream. And I think as we continue to bring on more people in-house, one of the first things that I'm going to do is try to ramp up our marketing arm, because right now all of our deals come from, other sources, wholesalers, realtors, contractors, word of mouth, the internet. But we don't proactively do much in the way of deal flow other than keeping good relations with the people that do bring us deals. So I would like to have someone in-house that's working very diligently to get us some off-market deals, because I got to be honest, I'm very appreciative of all wholesalers. But when one of these virtual wholesalers from Maryland contacts me with good deals in the area that I invest in, kind of makes me question how serious am I about investing that this person can, from a computer, find a better deal than I've been able to on my own. Man, you guys really came through on the questions when I was about to leave. Good job. Do you subscribe to the belief that if you don't buy off market, you are not or are less of a real estate investor? No. There are so many different ways to be successful in real estate investing. And this whole like tribalism, these whole like sayings or whatnot, they're all pretty much useless. I would say if you're a real estate investor, if you try really hard to find deals, right? Whether it's on the MLS, whether it's, doing your own direct mail, whatever. If you are diligently trying to find rental properties and purchase them for the sake of renting them out, selling them, or, whatever else you can do with real estate, then you're a real estate investor. I'm even willing to go as liberal to say that if you own your home, you're a real estate investor. You might not be a good one since you're not making any money, but nonetheless, there you are with a property that needs to be tended to. Uh, if there's a limit of 10 conventional loans per person, does that mean between my wife and I we can have 20 conventional loans? I'm not sure about this. I think you can do that, and I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure you can do that. Conventional loans. And then once you get those 20 conventional loans, or 18 if you're both on your personal residence, then I mean, if you start an LLC, there's no end there. The 10 loan, the 20 loan limit only applies to Fannie, Freddie, government backed loans. But you can have as many conventional loans as you'd like to. Conventional just meaning you put 25% down. That's a conventional loan. And you can have as many of those as you want to. The only ones that are limited are the ones that the government has their little fingers in. Big fingers, I guess. How can I find real estate with low income? Example, household is 70K last year, purchased my primary home for 255K. Could I qualify for a loan with the same income and a home loan already on my name? I don't know. My brother is a loan officer, and he could likely answer this question. But I would not say that 70K is low income. Whenever I got started in real estate investing, my wife and I lived in like a 720 square foot home. We dialed down our expenses. I probably made around 70K that year. We dialed down our income. I mean, our expenses. We were living off right at about $2,000 per month, a little bit less than that. That included all of our grocery, all of our housing, all of our gas, our health insurance, everything. We dialed it in for less than 2,000. And I remember I told myself that I was not going to buy a better house for us to live in until we had at least 25 of our own properties. It ended up being closer to 40. And, that entire time I was trying to actively find ways to make more money. So $70,000 is an extraordinary amount of income, I would say. So I would say your problem is not, can you qualify? It's, can you lower your living expenses enough? Can you find additional ways to generate revenue? And I mean, you don't really need at all to be a high income earner to start investing in real estate. And when I was just telling Irene, the videos with the black thumbnail with the yellow words in there, I kind of talk about, if you have a high income, if you have a W-2 job, there's one way you can invest, which is what you're alluding to, of getting qualified, taking down traditional loans. If you don't have that, I kind of like to refer to it as like the dark side. This is like a world of creativity, land contracts, seller financing, the low money, no money down, that type of real estate investing. And it's just about educating yourself, creating a different skill set, and executing and taking action on that on a daily basis. But I wouldn't be discouraged, and I wouldn't let it get in your head at all if you stop qualifying based on the bank's regulations. I would say don't let a bank, don't let an external force, don't let anyone kind of hold you back from what you want to do. You have to get creative and find out different ways to make it work, right? So I mean, I think I probably went a little bit too far. We lived in that 700 square foot house until we had about 3 kids, and then it just got entirely too small. But it was entirely too small beforehand. And I also remember I did the math at one point, and I felt really bad about this because the fridge that we had in that house, the freezer stopped working. So nothing that we put in there actually stayed frozen or really even stayed cold. And we put it off. I put it off so long replacing it. And then I did the math and I realized that I had purchased over 15 appliances for our rental properties. But I still hadn't, bought a new freezer for our family. So when I realized that, when I had that epiphany, I was like, okay, I think I've gone a little far here. But nonetheless, I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't matter what other people say or if you fit other people's criteria. Don't let it hold you back from whatever else, especially in real estate. Like if you really start networking with other investors, they recall, I mean, almost all of the investors that have decent sized portfolios now didn't have traditional jobs, didn't have good credit, didn't, have any sort of bankability or banks work in their favor. And a lot of these guys, once you form great relationships with them, would be willing to help you in the way of like seller financing or land contracts or do something advantageous to you if you show similar characteristics of working really hard, showing up every day, and putting in all the work. So I could think of just offhand 5 stories of people that had really bad credit, didn't have any jobs, that now have like multi-million-dollar portfolios. And throughout the entire process, they never had a W-2 that made them bankable. And for the vast majority of our investing career, I haven't been a bankable person. So, I mean, what took us, like I would say when we were at 20 properties and less, I would say about 50 or 60% of our portfolio was seller financed. So when banks wouldn't work with us. But now, since we have had 2 years worth of rental history, and banks are willing to count and look at us as like a real business, now we're starting to be bankable for like the first time. And it's a very bizarre feeling to me. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, don't limit yourself because of perceived reactions or whatever, or perceived limitations. Josh Woodland, it's been a while since I've seen you on here, man. Working on renovations in the city is proving difficult to work with. Made me register it as a rental, and they keep issuing me violations for non-compliance. Any advice? Get used to it, buddy. I've got one right here. I just got it yesterday of them hitting me with a violation. And get this, they hit me with another violation after I fixed the first violation. Let me see if I can. They did something really that I was really appreciative of, though. They took a picture, they uploaded it to MS Paint, and they circled the problem that they wanted me to fix. Part of the game, man. Part of the game. And there's a chip that I have on my shoulder that most other investors do too. And it's the same one that you're implying, buddy. It's like they made me paint this entire house, which is fine. Like it probably did need to be painted, right? But at the same time, like, would you have forced a homeowner to paint the house? Like I was able to. I'm fortunate enough to where I could correct that issue and it's no sweat off my back, right? But how are you going to force somebody to spend? And we got a great deal on painting the entire house and the garage. We spent $3,000, and that includes the paint, right? Fantastic. Most people, it would cost them on the retail side 5-10 grand to paint a house. How are you going to force somebody to paint a house like that? I mean, I could, but and then it's also one of those things where once you're singled out and once you are issued a violation. So not only are these things, I mean, these things can be really, really intimidating, right? Like I was in law enforcement. I don't like the idea of being fined for, disobeying something. And I definitely don't like the idea of going to jail. But like all of these violations that I ever get say, you could be fined X number of dollars and spend up to 60 days in jail. It's like, I have never had my freedom threatened more than since I became a real estate investor. All the time getting violations. But at the same time, there are things that need to be fixed. And I say all the time because I'm a little bit heated because I agree with you. It's very frustrating. And, we are not people that prefer to have deferred maintenance on our properties, right? Like this one, we wouldn't have painted it. It wouldn't have come up on our radar had the city not requested it. But like sometimes it's tough just from a manpower, a bandwidth perspective to make it to all of your properties to see that, a gutter has fallen off. Like we really rely on the residents there to report these things. And if they don't, we still want to know about them. But it's tough for us to go out, always look at all of our properties and address all of the issues. Because, a lot of times, like I mentioned earlier, we're reactive. We're putting out fires one at a time. But if I knew something was wrong, I would want to fix it. So why wouldn't you just ask me nicely to fix it rather than threatening to throw me in jail? That's my biggest complaint about all this. And I talked to my attorney, and he says there's a very, very slim possibility. He said he doesn't know if his umpteen years and being a lawyer of anyone actually getting put in jail for a city violation. But nonetheless, like don't mess with my freedom, man. I'm not trying to spend any time in jail. There you go. Josh Woodland got me all fired up. They're inspecting for the rental certificate, but I keep saying I'm not ready for the rental certificate yet. I don't even have drywall up yet. They got up in your business, man. And they have the ability to do it. So you just kind of got to grin and bear it and do everything to the best of your ability. Whenever they show up, just have some coffee and donuts ready for them, man. Become good friends. That firehouse that I did a video of, I'm pretty sure the only reason that I got passed was because I maxed out the number of times that I failed. And that was the main reason that I started doing a really bad job at documenting the progress of that, is because I just simply could not tolerate those inspectors anymore. One would come out, identify 3 things that need to be fixed. No problem. Like I said, I want to fix all of these things. I truly want to take care of these properties like I always say I do on these channels. Another inspector would come out, presumably to fix those 3 things that I just corrected that the previous inspector pointed out. Oh no. He wants to go through and do his own inspection. And he points out another 3 things. So then the third time, the initial inspector came out, not to look at the 3 things that the second inspector just asked me to, and not to look at the first 3 things that he pointed out, but came up with another 3 things. And the cycle continues, and there's no consistency. There's no accountability. There's no recourse that the investor has other than just continually complying with whatever municipality. And it was whenever I was dealing with that I never really understood, like, you watch those videos about New York and like the building. There was that one movie where Alec Baldwin, pretty much like they claimed that he ran the entire city. And he was like, one of the zoning people or whatever. And I just could never figure out like how that worked. But then after, it being on the brunt end of all these inspections, and it's just like, man, like if this system was corrupt, they could truly make it to where I could never get an occupancy certificate for that. And because there's no recourse, there's no accountability. It's just whatever they say goes, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a tough spot to be in. And, hey, I could see how, if taken to the extreme, kind of like the movies that we watched in New York talks about how cutthroat, the real estate is and how corrupt the city officials are or whatever. I can see how that's like a real thing. If you've reached your limit of conventional mortgage loans, is the best way of expanding is to convert those loans to portfolio loans? And if so, then do you start over at 0? Yes. Yeah, you're on it, man. If you convert them over to portfolio loans and you paid off all your Fannie Freddie loans, then now you're eligible to get another 10 Fannie Freddie loans. The only thing that I would say to that is most of the time when people get away from their Fannie Freddie loans, they never want to go back. I would say you probably shouldn't refinance those into a portfolio loan and do another Fannie Freddie, because if you've, the Fannie Freddie loans, you have to do everything except give them a vial of your blood, right? When you go over to the portfolio side of things, which if you have 20 Fannie Freddie loans, then you're cash flowing at a better rate than you're ever going to get on the portfolio side. So your loan rate is probably going to be lesser, and your amortization period is going to be longer on those Fannie Freddie loans. But once you go over and you start taking like the higher percentage 20-year amortized portfolio loans, so easy. It's so easy, man. You have to provide a tenth of the documents, and uh, they're able to move a lot quicker, and it's just a lot less headaches. So I don't have 10 Fannie Freddie loans. Like I mentioned, I have not been bankable for the majority of the time that we've been investing in real estate. So I don't have those conventional loans, and I'm not interested in getting them because at this point, I mean, our finances would take so long for these underwriters to sift through because it's not like a W-2. It's a bunch of different little businesses. I appreciate you, LS Fitness. That seems like extreme dedication and discipline. I can see how that helped with your success. Thanks. Someone told me you can use FHA loans for fix and flip. Doing my research, but not sure how true that is. Any ideas on that? Probably not. FHA need to be owner occupied. So fix and flip, probably no. Fix and live in, yes. I think it's like the FHA 203K loan. You can buy a distressed property, you can fix it up, and you can live in it. And FHA will cover, I think, 98% of the purchase price and 98% of the rehab costs, something like that. But it's a lot of paperwork, and you have to live in it for a certain amount of time. So if somebody is telling you that you can use it for a fix and flip, maybe you can, but then that ethical integrity part comes into play of, are you lying and saying that you're going to live there and not doing it and actually flipping it instead? That's not something I would advise, just because I don't like not being upright. I'm too paranoid for that. I like doing everything the right way the first time because I never want to look over my shoulder, so to each their own. What's the best way of finding banks that allow lower purchase price in 30K or high 20K? So basically cold calling around. It sure is, man. I think one of the reasons my brother and I make a fantastic team, he's down in Jacksonville, Florida. And, a lot of people are like, oh, wow, like, when's he going to move up here? And I don't think he should, honestly. I would love to be closer to him, and I'd love for our kids to be able to, like, hang out together more frequently. But at the end of the day, like, him being down in Florida keeps him out of, like, he can't accidentally get pulled into the operational side, right? Like, when we're running thin, when we have doorknobs that need to be replaced or just little odds and end things, he can't do it. And that's great. Just as feverishly as I look for properties, he spends talking to banks to see if they're willing to work with us. So that's one of the reasons that he went into like the mortgage industry and being a loan officer, is just to be able to network, communicate, and really just learn the ropes around the financing industry to see like how we could best position our company to get these loans, and how to, like, who's doing what, who are the banks that are willing to play with real estate investors. Generally, it's going to be the smaller local credit unions. There are a few like private money people, like kind of private institutions that that are really interested in holding on to rental properties long term. So that's cool. But yeah, it's a lot of calling, a lot of networking, a lot of, just asking for referrals, figuring out what are the other investors, in the area, what banks did they use to buy certain properties. I mean, instead of calling the banks, you could also just call the people that you could use PropStream. You could find out the recently sold properties, which ones have mortgages, and you could just see on PropStream what bank is holding that mortgage. So you could easily set a search up inside of PropStream to find out like what are all the properties that have sold for lesser than $30,000 that have a mortgage, and it will pull up a big list. And then PropStream also would show you what company that is. So that's another way to do that. Thank you for always watching, man. This is awesome. And I've had a ton of fun. We're an hour and a half in. We're to the bottom of the questions. And yeah, I think I'm going to go prepare, get my cowboy boots on, maybe try to find a big cowboy hat so that I can look really cool for this Dwight Yoakam concert tonight. And maybe while I'm packing up, maybe I will try to find Sling Blade and watch it to try to get myself in that Dwight Yoakam mindset. All righty. Well, I sure do appreciate everyone on here. I will talk to you all soon. Visit the Reddit, join that if you haven't already, so that we can continue talking throughout the week. Sometime, at some point, that sub will blow up and it'll get a lot more active. I'm sure of it. So feel free to join that. And in the meantime, next Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll see you then. Have a great weekend and go out and find some deals. Make them happen.